and religious austerity, who saw life through the diminishing end of a sectarian telescope, and who cared far more for the distant heathen than for the local convivial pagans who composed my entourage. She had brought to me a considerable sum of money, which I had increased by judicious investments, and I dare say that it was in recognition of my business ability, as well as possibly in a moment of becoming wifely remorse, that she bequeathed to me her property intact. I gave her final testimonial services wholly in keeping with her standing as a churchwoman, and I must say for my friends, whom she had severely ignored during her life, that they behaved very handsomely on that mournful occasion. They turned out in large numbers, and testified in other ways to their regard for her unblemished character. I recall, not without emotion after all these years, that Bunsey's memorial tribute to the church paper, for which he never received $1, was a model of appreciation, as well as of Christian forgiveness and self-forgetfulness. The passing of Mrs. Stanhope made it possible for me to put into operation the long-desired plan of retiring a little way into the country, not too far from the seductions of the club and the city, but far enough to conform to the tastes of a country gentleman who likes to whistle to his dogs, putter over his roses, and meditate in a comfortable library with the poets and philosophers of his fancy. Here, with my good housekeeper, Prudence, a name I chose in preference to her mother's selection, Elizabeth, and my gardener and man of affairs, Malachi, I lived for a number of years at peace with the world and perfectly satisfied with myself. Although I was dangerously over 40, and my hair, which had been impressively dark, was conspicuously gray in spots, my figure was good, my dress correct, and my mirror told me that I was still in a position to be in the matrimonial running if I tried. I mention these trifling physical details merely to save my modesty the humiliation and annoyance of referring to them in future, and to prepossess the gentle reader wherever the sex makes it highly important. I do not deny that in certain moments of loneliness which come to us, widowers and bachelors alike, I had the impulse to tempt again the matrimonial fortune, and counting on my financial standing, together with other attractions, I ran over the eligible ladies of my acquaintance. But one was a little too old, and another was a good deal too flighty. One was too fond of society, and another did not like dogs. A fifth spoiled her chances by an unwomanly ignorance of horticulture, and a sixth perished miserably after returning to me one of my most cherished books, with the leaves dog-eared and the binding cracked. For I hold with the greatest philosophers that she who maltreats a book will never make a good wife. And so the years slipped cosily and cheerily by, while I grew more contented with my environment, and less envious of my married friends, and whenever temporary melancholy overtook me, I moved into the club for a month, or slipped across the water, finding in the change of scene immediate relief from the monotony of widowerhood. In thus fortifying myself against the wiles of woman, I was much abetted by my good Prudence, who never ceased her exhortations as to the sinister designs of her sex, and who had ready word of discouragement for any possible candidate who might be in the line of succession. "I see that Roger's woman walking by the house today, Mr. John," she would begin, "and I see her turning her nose up at the new paint on the arbor." I selected that color myself. "It's queer how that woman does give herself airs, considerin' everybody knows that she's been ready for 10 years to take the fust